A group of residents from Roodepan Township in Kimberley in the Northern Cape have lambasted police for their slow response time and lack of visibility. The residents allege that they wait for hours before police arrive at crime scenes in the area. They marched to the Roodepan Police Station to demand more police vehicles and patrolling around the area. The march comes after a woman was raped by 3 men and set on fire at the weekend.
The gruesome death of Tankisho Tawanyana has prompted some Roodepan residents to stand up. The group took their dissatisfaction with police to their doorstep. They believe the 34-year-old lesbian woman would still be alive had police responded on time.
She cried out for help, but nobody came out to come and assist us. We waited on a police van, nobody came. Only at 11 at night, I mean, like really, she could have still be alive today. And because of the delay in police vehicles, we had this problem. Die gemeenskap was moeg. We had enough.
Tawanyana was gang raped and doused with paraffin before being set alight at a nearby veld at the weekend. These residents maintain that this heinous hate crime is among the many that happen in the area.
The issues was raised locally with the station commander. It was given through to the cluster. Why was this issue not yet sorted? How many lives do we still have to lose before this gets addressed?
Last time there was a lady who was stabbed. We called the vans. We didn't get it. The van came around past 3 in the morning. So you can see we're having a problem with van issue here in Roodepan.
The Roodepan police have promised to give residents feedback within 10 days on their plans to fight crime in the area. Nira Hlakotsa, SABC News, Roodepan, Kimberley.
All right, now let's discuss this further. We are now joined via Zoom by Steve Letsike Access Chapter 2 Executive Director. Steve, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Of course, you know, your reaction to yet another brutal and violent attack on a South African, of course, Tankisho Tawanyana, you know, of course targeted because of, her sexual orientation and gender identity.
Indeed. I mean, look, we find it as a concerning matter for us. We continue to be a counting body of LGBT people who continue to be murdered because of hate. This is a very big problem that we have addressed, for the longest time as a country, that hate crime needs to be made crime. It's 20 years this legislation is not in place. Of course, we mindful that, our parliament has been moving processes, but this legislation must be adopted as soon as possible. Secondly, is that the behavior in society is unheard of. The response by the police is really unacceptable, that we are not responding as efficient as fast to the community needs. You can see with Tankisho's death, it resembles many deaths that we've been talking about. Just this weekend, I visited West Rand as well, where there was a suicide of a young person in West Rand who committed suicide because they've been bullied and they have been harassed because of who they are. So we are really concerned that violence against LGBT people and discrimination is taking center, and yet prevention efforts remain very low.
Now, of concern, if you were listening, to that previous clip, people saying that they called police. Police only arrived after many hours. At 11 o'clock, one can only imagine the excruciating pain that this individual was under before she was helped and eventually succumbed to her injuries. I was speaking to a criminology professor not too long ago, and he was saying that, intelligence-led policing in the country is practically non-existent.
Absolutely. This is a big problem because when you say that emergency number needs to be utilized by community members, you need to make sure emergency does not constitute more than an hour. Emergency police, the reason why police stations are also within the vicinity of communities also then speaks to the level of response that must happen quickly, whether it's ambulance, whether it's police, whether it's any kind of emergency need. It means that we must take the interest of community at heart in responding in a very fast approach. Secondly, it's whether the question of our police are well capacitated to respond to the demands yes, our violence is extremely high because we have a high rate of violence. Is our response and is our prevention method or even a police station capacitated? I mean, we see quite a lot of police stations and with under staff or vans or making sure that these buses or vans, vehicles are available in sites that are needed. But nevertheless, when a call comes through, how long should it take for the police to respond on time and to be on site? How long should it take for emergency ambulances to be on site on time? And I mean, the communities agree to say that should the police arrive on time, this Utakinisho would have been still alive because the response would have taken the interest of life.
You know, apart from, community members also, complaining and being specific about what the problems are, you also have, reports that collate these kinds of information to show the leadership of this country just how problematic the crime levels are, particularly to this group. Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women's fifth periodic report in November 2021 went at lengths to display just how many women just in 2021 were killed and targeted because of their sexual orientation, and to date nothing has been done. I mean, you've had groups like the LGBTQI plus rights program writing letters to ministers, and yet still nothing is being done. I mean, to what lengths then do South Africans have to go to make their voices heard, because we've been seeing so many of these heinous crimes being committed?
Indeed. I mean, look, President Ramaphosa announced, and really declared gender-based violence as an epidemic in this country. And we saw, not for the first time in South Africa, a national strategic plan being developed. It has been continuously for the last, at least for the last almost 2 decades, where intervention or action plans have been developed. The point here is also, when we develop strategies, to what extent do we go and costing them and budgeting for these strategies? Are we deprioritizing the women's lives, the LGBTI lives, the children's lives, the elderly's lives, and equating it not to respond to this system? I mean, I think already KPMG report a few years ago revealed that we spent 45 billion in responding to violence. Isn't that equating us and telling us how much money we actually use to respond as opposed to how much money we can use to actually prevent? It's a big issue. But now I think where the problem lies is not only what political leaders or our government is doing. It's actually what is happening on the ground. One, to ensure law or the rule of law is observed or is addressed, where the attitude and toxic masculinity and toxic community be addressed. And those interventions need resources, resource psychologists, mental health practitioners, resource organizations so that they can respond to these fundamental points. But it's unacceptable that we've got good laws, we've got good programs, and that are underfunded, and we are not responding to these very same fundamental points. But it links to some of the other big questions around the economy. How many people are employed? Jobs, all of these frustrations. How are we dealing with mental health, substance use and abuse? And these challenges, we are not going to be able to respond to violence effectively if we don't respond to the big questions. But most importantly, of what the LGBTI community has raised consistently, it is enough for us to be talking about death and violence against LGBTI people when the country and its leadership is not acting on its own way. It's enough. The Constitution is there, but the rights are not the least reality.
Absolutely. Steve, thank you so much for your time. That's where we have to leave it for this afternoon. Steve Letsike, Access Chapter 2 Executive Director.